Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, LuAnn. LuAnn has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. LuAnn brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. Adam Scougall is with me today, and I know a bunch of people just collectively started clapping. Adam is famous to all of us through the Facebook groups that we're in. He's a good friend. We all value him there, and today he is on the show. Adam opened his interiors consulting business in 2010, and since then he has worked across New South Wales, Australia, creating stunning residential interiors for his clients. His work has been featured in many national and international publications, including Home Beautiful, Real Living, Grand Designs Australia, and Singapore's Metropolitan Home magazine. Now, I want to tell you, the hook for me with Adam was that Adam has a full-time corporate job, and at least at the present, he has no intentions of leaving that job. And I thought that was very interesting, especially when we started to discuss the pros and cons of having a full-time job. So I thought you might be interested in this, especially if you are possibly in the same situation as Adam, having to work at something else all day and trying to build your interior design firm on the side. Clearly, organization is the benchmark of every interior design project, especially if you have a full-time job. But either way, it's very important. My Doma Studio can be the answer you need. My Doma Studio helps you organize and track every single detail of your clients' projects, from the products you source and you suggest to your clients to the communication you have with your clients and your vendors. Head on over to www.mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business and see what Sarah Danielli and her team at My Doma Studio can do to help you run your design firm more efficiently. Okay, are you ready to meet Adam? Hey, Adam, thank you so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you, LuAnn.
So, Adam, I've been looking forward to this interview because we have been connected through the fabulous Facebook groups of our friends. I know you're definitely in Veronica Solomon's Facebook group, right? What is Veronica's What They Don't Teach You in Design School, right? That's what her group is called?
Oh, yes.
Right? And then
love Veronica and love the group.
I know.
Yeah.
And are you also in Claire Jeffords' group, Interior Design Business Strategies? I don't know.
Of course.
Okay. And are you in Dixie and Rachel's group, Design Plus Style, Design and Style?
Yes.
Okay, so
See, three.
It's the trifecta of the interior design. It is. It is the truth, and I really wanted to just say that that's how we know each other and share that, because they are all three truly valuable resources. So for any interior designers listening, all of you listening, if you are not aware of these Facebook groups, please pop over, ask to join, and because the information is amazing and the support, isn't it, Adam?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's so funny. I mean, you're in Australia, and I feel like I know you. It's like so bizarre, isn't it?
So weird.
So, and I did get a chance to meet Veronica in person. She came to New Jersey about a month and a half ago, and she was about an hour away from my showroom, but she drove up to come. She came with Yelena, and they came in for the afternoon and visited with me. So that was exciting. Have you met Veronica in person yet?
No,
yeah.
I haven't, but I'd love to. I did see that video, LuAnn.
Oh, you did?
Went and did that, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, all right. So that was a little shout out to our fellow peeps there. Okay, so Adam, you have a lot of interesting things that we can talk about today, and we have zeroed in on three areas that we feel are going to be very helpful for all of our colleagues to hear you talk about. One of them is photography, because you're really particularly rocking it in that area, and it's really turning into, yes, you're doing a great job. I watch your Facebook posts, and you're an artist too, on top of being an interior designer, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. That's like how many, what'd you get in the whole, like when you were in line at birth, you got in all the lines that said creative pursuits and you took them all, right? Do you play musical instruments too?
You know what? I don't. I did a bit of piano at about, 16 or 17, but no, I don't.
Okay. All right. So you're
I'd
not
like to.
completely perfect then. Okay. That's good.
I don't even look at perfection as an option. I don't like that word.
Okay, I hear you. So, okay, so let's talk about, so we're going to talk about the photography. We're also going to talk about something is, I thought was really interesting that a lot of interior designers are truly striving to leave their day job because their interior design firm is their side hustle, and their big goal is to leave the day job and to one day realize this dream of doing design full time. And you literally are holding down a corporate job. You've been doing it for 7 years, right? It's 7, Adam?
Yes.
Yep, alongside your interior design business. And we're not going to say that, you have no desire at any point in your life to not do design full time. But at this point, this is working out this way by intention. That's is that correct?
That's true, LuAnn. Yeah, that is true. And it's really, I was actually thinking about some of the discussion that we've already had about the choice, and I guess we'll get into that in more detail, but it's absolutely, well, the choice about projects and the ability to be able to choose which projects I'd like to focus my energies on, because as we've already discussed, it does take quite a bit of preparation, and it does require some real thought about how this is all going to happen and the resources that I need to help me to produce a final outcome. So it's absolutely by choice that this is the way it is. I think what I'm doing at the moment is really focusing on getting the capital behind me to be able to comfortably get to that point. But that's taking some time, and you're right. I don't take on projects that just do not feel a fit, and I don't have to because financially I'm not feeling needy about the next job.
That's what I really thought was the critical aha for me when you and I were communicating both by email and by, talking before the show, is that sentence right there. I would just want to share with everybody. Adam said to me that one of the benefits of having his corporate job is that it allows him to pick his clients and his projects rather than feeling that pressure of taking on any and all projects out of the desperation of having to make ends meet. And so I thought that, whoa, that was like a different spin on things. And so a lot of times when somebody is working their full-time job and trying to build their interior design business on the side, we hear about the bad side of it, right? The challenges, like, oh my goodness, I never have any time, and I resent my full-time job, and all the things that are legit. And believe me, I'm not disparaging either which way, but I just thought it was so really special that you see the positive in it too. That there is. I'm sure your week must be insane, trying to do a full-time job, and like you said, you are really having to manage. So the positive is that because we say, and Adam, I know that you listen to the show, we've talked about it. We say all the time on the show that we don't serve ourselves, we don't serve our client if we take projects that aren't good for us, that aren't a good fit. But often when we're building our businesses, we ignore that voice and we ignore that intuition and we take them anyway because we need to pay the bills, right? And so I thought that was so special that you acknowledged that that's a gift that you have by having the corporate job. And of course it comes with challenges. So that's our positive. And so, but let's talk about that a little bit, because I still would think, because you're very creative, everybody, you must go over to Adam's website and take a look at not only his interior design but the art he creates. So as a creative person that is doing this, it still must be hard when an opportunity comes along and it's not a right fit. Now, let's understand, not hard because, like what you said, you don't really have the time to waste on projects and individuals that you don't feel are going to be the right fit. But talk about just saying no to the project. How do you do that? Because that's a lesson for somebody that's even full-time and it feels that it's the wrong project. And I like to get the different people's opinion on the way they evaluate that the project is wrong for them, what the markers are, what the words are that you hear in your head, and the way you express it with, kindness to your client that, it's not going to happen.
That's a really good question, LuAnn. And this is bona fide the real truth. I had a consultation last week, and it was a Sunday, so I do work weekends, or I do have to work weekends in my position, which I just, that's the way it is. But I went and saw a client last week, and I had received a phone call from this young voice on the phone. And it was something like, my dad wants you to come and choose all the furniture and tell us what we need to do. And I thought, oh, okay. So I said, okay then, well, you're not, who are you? He said, I'm his son. I said, okay, hi there. What's your name? He said, my name's Noddy. I said, okay, Noddy. So what I'm going to do is give me an email. What happened in the end, LuAnn, is I sent an email through, and then the email wasn't getting replied to. I wasn't getting any feedback. I sent a link to my questionnaire. Now, I also received payment in advance. So that's one thing that I absolutely definitely do, is I receive the payment in advance. So they paid my fee for the consultation in advance. So even though it wasn't ideal, I did send a link. I did put forward my request to get further information. I did get a link to, they'd recently purchased the property. It was quite a large house. And I've worked with other clients before where English wasn't their first language. And this was actually a Chinese client. So what I ended up discovering is that the father couldn't speak any English, and that the son was really just organising the appointment. And at first I thought, okay, well, if they would like to go ahead and pay for the consultation, I'm going to go there and give it my all, as long as they have somebody there that I can communicate with. And I ended up getting feedback that there was going to be some sort of interpreter there, whether it was a family member or other. So I did turn up, and there was an aunt there, and there was the wife, the husband, and this little son, Noddy, who was 11 years old.
Wow.
And I really had to discover that because no one was really giving me a lot of information. But, we spent 2 hours, LuAnn, at the home. It took us a long time to get past the first room of the house, and we had like 6 bedrooms, a couple of bathrooms and all that. So I thought, gee, we're an hour and 40 minutes into this consultation, and we're back and forth. He's talking in Mandarin. I'm getting interpretation, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, listen, guys, we've got 10 minutes left, and we're really just getting to the second room. Now, you're asking me what my red flags would be in that situation. Look, I came to the consultation. I gave them benefit. Now, I do type up the consultation notes, which, because my handwriting is shocking, I couldn't just give them that and I would have felt terrible. So I do actually type them up. So anyway, we got to sort of the second, third room hurriedly. And I thought, gee, after all this toing and froing and the husband pulling out tear sheets and what do you think of this fabric, saying that in Mandarin, interpreted by somebody else, I just thought, this is not my ideal client.
Yeah. Wow.
I cannot communicate properly. How am I going to produce anything for them? We also got into, just to finish off really on this example, we also, I normally go through my contract as well, which is a business of design thing now. But I thought, you know what, there's no point in trying to explain this pages of this document. I don't think it's going to be understood at all. And then we even got to pricing at the end, and I said, well, look, I'll just send you some pricing. And normally now I do the pricing at the consultation at the end through this process. Anyway, I said, look, tell us a price. I said, oh, look, here we go. Here's a price for the room. Add this on. And this is like, we're at the end of the session.
Yeah, right.
And I said, it's this. And I have another way to calculate pricing, which is, it is a square meter basis. You call it something else, but we do square meters in Australia. Then they started to haggle, and we're at the end of the 2 hours. Hang on, that's not including this part, and it's just part of the wall. And I said, listen, that's my price. I've got to go. I've ability to run because, and I say this with all respect, LuAnn, because I'm just telling you the truth here, to the client that is, I really have to go, and I did have to go. It was a Sunday. I've got other things to do. I've given you all of my information, or I will give that to you shortly in a typed up document. which is a consultation summary. And I'm going to give you, I gave a lot of my feedback. I tried to push the meeting on to get to the areas that they originally, I understood they wanted to cover, and did what I could in the 2 hours, but I left there knowing that I was going to have to respectfully tell them that I'm not the right designer for their job. And I did do that the day after. I actually got another text. I don't like text as a form of communication. So I didn't get any email response, but I sent the email through. I got the email address of the woman there that was interpreting. And I just said, look, this is the way I communicated it, LuAnn. I just said, look, due to the communication concerns I have, I don't believe that I'm the right designer for the job, and I won't be moving forward. The other thing that was suggested to me was give them a resource of somebody that does speak their language.
Do you even know anybody in the area?
Well, I asked one of the groups in Australia. There's a designer therapy group in Australia, and I asked one of the people on that forum. At this point, I haven't even got a name for them, but I said to them, I will look for another resource for you that I'm trying to find you another designer that speaks the language.
Right.
They haven't followed up. I've sent the notes, but that's an example of when if I was not working in corporate, LuAnn, and I didn't have that need, maybe I would have tried to do something because I needed the money. But in this situation, it absolutely was not an option.
Right. And the thing is, and that's the little push part. It's like the gift that you have of having the hassle of a full-time job, right? So it's a gift and it's a hassle at the same time, it just makes it so that it's not even something that you have to debate in your mind. You don't even have to fuss with, oh, should I not take this job? You just know that if you take this one job, like you said, an hour and 45 minutes to talk about one room, when, tomorrow the phone could ring and you could have a client come to you that's perfect for you. And in 2-hour consultation, you could do 6 rooms, a walkthrough. You know what I mean? So I think it's great. But the lesson is that we all have this red flag. We all have this gut feeling. But the difference is that when we're trying to make ends meet, we often push through. And I know it's hard to not push through, but it doesn't serve you to push through. I just had a conversation with Kendra Bester, and she is a young designer, and she's from Toronto, and she's only in business 3 years, and she already understands that that's one of the best things that she can do for her business is when the aesthetic doesn't match her style, her look and her style and her feel, if the design isn't feel in her realm, or the client doesn't feel right for her, that it only prevents her from saying yes to the next one, which could be the perfect one. And you don't get good referrals. It's not good in any way. So, but it's a hard thing to do, and I have compassion for it. So, okay. So that's awesome. I think that's great. All righty. Now, there are challenges that come with being full-time employed in addition to running the design firm. And I know that a lot of our colleagues out there are experiencing some of these same challenges. So let's talk about them. So here we are. First off, in the beginning of the story, you're telling us you're going out on the consultation on a Sunday because, you really aren't taking work off on Monday to do your design work, right? So Talk to us about managing your time, because here's what I'm hearing now. Are you working nights and weekends on the design firm, Adam? Because are you seeing FaceTime clients on weekends and then doing your execution and your drawings and your floor plans at nights? Like, how are you managing your time?
Just as you said.
You just work it 24/7.
Look, it's not ideal, and it isn't a long-term. I don't think it's a favorable long-term thing, but you can do it, and you can make choices on, as you said, the type of project. So it absolutely, it is a situation where I am working on the weekends pretty much most of the time, and I do work at night. But I do put some barriers on that. I do have, I use I don't know what you call it in holiday time in the States.
Right, vacations.
I use all of that time. I'm not a person that loves holidays. I get very bored very quickly, which is not for everybody at all, especially if you have a family. But I tend to, I only need a couple of days downtime, but that's how I work and that's how I've needed to work. But I'm only, as we've discussed so far already, I'm only working with people where I think that this is going to be something I can photograph and we can have that outcome. And it took a while to get there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me about that. So, you even had an evolution within this model. So what you're saying is in the beginning, even though the client might have been right and you were excited about the project, now you've even whittled it further to the selection to only taking projects that you know are going to be photo worthy. Is that what you just said?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah. Because there's so much work, as you know, LuAnn, there's so much work involved in even a small project. There's so much work involved in not being able to communicate properly with a client. There's a lot of work involved with a client that is nitpicking every dollar that they're spending, and that really wants to get micro on that side of things. So there's kind of an assessment that I go through in terms of the questions I'm asking and really their comfort level in things like budget, that sort of thing. So I do have a review period. I have a good 15-minute conversation before I go and speak to anyone. I'm not going to go to a consultation and receive payment if I feel that the client has a very distorted view of what they're going to get for that money. So I just try and make sure that everything's transparent up front. But I will go on consultations as well, LuAnn, where I know that it's not necessarily going to go further. But I like to know that in advance, that it's only a 2-hour period and we're going to cover, let's have a look. Let's talk about the bathroom. Let's talk about the color palette. Let's talk about the window dressings. Let's talk about the flooring. And I'm going to type up this conversation, put some point forms in. Here's a review of what we talked about, and here are the action steps. The action steps might be for you. That's fine, as long as I get my prepayment.
Okay, so you have two different types of ideal clients. One is that, start to finish, 2-hour consultation. They have a specific need, a specific project. You go in, give them every bit of information you can for a set fee. You type it up, you send it to them, and they go execute. And then the other is when you're going to engage for a full renovation project, or not necessarily a renovation, but a full project.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
and
the
so
way it works.
your criteria for full project, though, at this point is that you have elevated yourself to the point that you are only accepting those full projects when you can look at the space and see that it's going to be photo worthy? Or is it not the criteria, not the space, but the transformation that you're able to, like you project that you could do? What makes it photo worthy to you, Adam? What is that criteria?
Well, I think, LuAnn, it's just that you're able to, if somebody says, look, I really can't let go of my coral red bed from the Jetsons, but I really like the Hampton style, and I want you to do the rest of the room as Hamptons.
Okay.
And I might say, I'm not sure that's going to work with what you've got here. So I'll just make an assessment there. Do I have the ability to move some stuff on, or the stuff that I can keep? Am I going to be able to work with it? I mean, I think it's the same as any other designer or decorator. You really, what's there? How can you really make a change that to the client they will feel the change and feel that you've produced something that's going to add benefit? And of course, I'm thinking, is this going to photograph well? But it's really just what is existing, what I've got to work with. Also, the communication with the client is as we've discussed, terribly important from the get-go. So,
but I understand your other distinction there, and I didn't at first, but now I get it. So in other words, when you determine if something's photo worthy, I understand. We are often in a situation with our clients where they say, yes, I want everything in this room freshened up, but this is non-negotiable. This, like you said, this headboard has to stay, or this, my husband's easy chair has to stay, right? And so when you look at it from a design perspective, you know darn well that, and this is what I'm saying, that the two different the views are. So on one hand, every single talented interior designer knows that they can make that room so much better, even with that blasted easy chair left in the middle of it. And the client will be happy because they know they had to keep the easy chair, but you have made a significant difference and scope to that room. But you also know in your mind there's no way you're ever sending that to a magazine because the easy chair is absurd. So I see what you're saying.
Sure.
So now you are at the level at your business where if somebody is asking you to do a redesign, but when you really evaluate the fast forward to when photographing, if there's some crazy piece that's going to stay or something, maybe sometimes there's maybe something architectural there that you can't change. That's okay, I like it. And so what happens is you constantly are furthering the needle in your business because you are always creating photo-worthy work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always photo worthy, but there's a little few tricks of the trade there, as you'd know, LuAnn. I mean, if someone's got a what did you call that chair?
Easy
the father
chair, the lounger chair.
I think I know what you mean, even though we might call it
It's
something
usually
else.
this reclining leather monstrosity.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's every designer hates it, and every one of us has a husband that loves it.
I might move that out and just bring something in on the
Okay,
day.
so in
I mean,
that regard, if you could make the rest of the room okay, you might just say, but for the pictures, this thing is going in the hallway.
I do that all the time. I really do. So, I mean, I don't do it, the room is really, most of the time the pictures are pretty true, but if I need to move something out, if the rest of the space is pretty good,
Okay.
then I'd bring a chair in if I was going to take
you'll
a photo.
bring a chair in. I love it.
Take the father one out or whatever you called it and bring a new one in.
I love it. That's a great idea. Okay, all right. So I have a couple of questions in what you were just describing there before I got on that easy chair tangent there. When you talk about your working weekends, obviously at nighttime, and I can understand that you're going to see your clients FaceTime often on the weekends and then do your other work on the evenings. How are you managing when it comes time for the install or meeting the cabinet person there? How are you doing that, Adam? Because I'm pretty sure they probably want to be Monday to Friday, right? During the day.
Absolutely, yeah. So I have to be organized.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do everything on the weekend, so I will have some flexibility with the time that I can take. But because I'm only taking on projects that really are a specific or deemed to have a specific outcome, i.e. there's enough work to do where I can do a one-go install.
Okay.
And I'm not maybe getting involved in managing things that require me to be away from my other job for long periods of time. I have to be very selective about what I agree to project manage. I will come up with a concept, it might include flooring and I don't really like doing kitchens. I'd probably contract that out to a drafts person, but do the put it together.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I will come up with that, but I'll say, well, look, these are the drawings, and this is actually, and I do this. I'm doing it at the moment. This is the guy that's going to do the floor. He's our quote. You're happy with him. He's he's got a terrific reputation, but I'm going to actually get him to come in and do this. Let's create a schedule. But I'm not necessarily. I might hand that over to the client. Some of the stuff that really cannot go terribly wrong if they are doing this. I'm talking about a big full renovation here,
right.
where the client potentially is not close to me. I've got a job at the moment where that's the case, in proximity. And they're also, it's just a different situation for every job. For example, I've got a job at the moment, LuAnn, where the husband's I think he's in the building industry, and he wants to do some of the demo on a bar area. And I've already sort of put together this package of trades. They're doing a kitchen as well, but not with me. So they're already going to go through a renovation process and go through a bit of turmoil in the home with everything being ripped out. So my proposal is that here is all of the decorative scheme. Here is the flooring. Here's the sample, but I'm not going to be there around the clock. Even for floor, I'm not going to be there 2 times a day when you're an hour and 10 minutes away from me in the car. I'm going to, we need to have an agreement about how that's going to be managed, especially if the client's doing anything like what I mentioned, knocking out a bar themselves because they have a builder's license. So I will literally come in for a decorative install, and that is just everything's ready to go. And we install the end product. That's where I come in. not necessarily the whole from the beginning to the end with a kitchen remodel. I just can't do that.
Right.
So I have to be strategic about it, and I have to be organised. I do go and do a trade day where I get everybody in now. I've been doing that for actually nearly 12 months. So I'll organise to have the people that need to come in to review the space, take measurements, come in on a day, and I have done that during the week, which means I need to take time away from the other job.
Okay.
And we will do a one-hit sort of experience where I get the people in, I say what I need, we do the quotations, and that's it. So it's really only a couple of visits. I do a consultation, which I normally do on the weekend anyway, and then I'll have the trade day, and then I'll be designing, and I'll get measurements done, and I've got a process for that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that it is so important for every interior designer to be highly organized and clear communicator, but it's more of an onus even on yourself, it sounds like, because you're not having a daily interaction. You're just not able to show up and double check different things that are happening. And so it puts a big onus on you on being very clear, I would think.
I think if I can clarify, that hasn't always been the case. So a couple of years ago, I was working, I know, a couple of years ago, I was working with somebody, and they were really the full-time resource for me. And we ended up not continuing to work together. But for a period of time, I did actually have somebody that was reporting into me, and they were doing the day-to-day.
Oh, so it was almost like you had a project lead working under you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one way to handle it.
And I had that for four years. So I was really coming in like I am now, except I also had a contractor that was really getting involved in the project management, to the point where I would come in at the decorative part of the install, and I only do the turnkey install as well. So I won't take a project on if they say to me, can you get me let's get the couch now and we'll get the rug in 2 months, and I think maybe one piece of it. No, don't do that.
And so what do you do? Do you have a separate warehouse facility that you contract with to have everything delivered and staged there waiting for the reveal date, or what do you do?
I wish I had that. I'd love to say that I had that.
So do you just ask each vendor to hold it for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you
I
get
don't have a
cooperation from them.
warehouse. That'd be wonderful. But no, I really have to pick and choose also too, which is another part of being organised. I have to really have my go-to vendors that will do that for me, because that's the way I need to work at this point in the game. I have to be able to rely on vendors that will hold stock. So if I know a vendor is going to be a problem with that, then I've got to make another decision.
Right. And do you not have in Australia, like here in the States, we have, and of course I have no idea if it's across the entire States, but of course in the New York area, we have companies that they're not our own storage facilities, but they are literally, that's their sole purpose, is to be holding staging places for interior design projects, and they receive your furniture and your lighting and your so forth, and then when it's time they white glove deliver it, but you're paying them an extra fee. They're not your service, you know what I'm saying? So they don't have that in Australia?
Well, we have storage facilities.
No, this is like set up for design. This is not like, you sometimes people are putting, their, 16,000 catalogs of magazines that they save forever. No, this is literally, they cater to the design industry here.
Wow, I haven't heard of that.
Oh, yeah. I guess maybe that's a it's a big city area. Plus, maybe I would assume that it's in most of the U.S. big cities, but I have no idea. And you only know what you know. I'm used to having it. So.
Right.
Yeah. See, I don't need it for my business, right? Because I don't do full service interiors, but I have had to deliver my draperies to places like this because a designer says, no, we're going to have a reveal day, and okay, your drapes are done, but the reveal day is in, and actually for us, we're 99.9% of the time going to install on reveal day, but I've had designers that maybe the work is happening not in New Jersey or New York, and I'm still making the draperies for them. So I'm sending it to this holding warehouse, and then it's getting shipped in either a truck or a container or whatever to the ultimate thing, and then somebody on the other end is installing. So, and also a lot of the commercial designers that I work with, I know that they do this because they'll say, "Oh, well, so and so company is delivering on the 3rd," and I'm always like, "I want to get in on the 2nd then." My guys don't want to be there when those companies are delivering.
Right.
So, okay, all right. So that's challenging too, that you have to find vendors that are willing to hold things until you're ready for the delivery. Okay. All right. And then I wondered, is Australia, Adam, the way a lot of Europe is, where your vacation schedule is much more generous than typically the U.S.? Like here, you're lucky if you get 2 weeks, but I know my friends that live in Germany, it's 6 weeks and more. Is 6 weeks is entry-level vacation packages. Which way does Australia come down on that?
We have 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay. So you have 4 weeks off the bat to play with, and then depending on seniority and other national holidays and stuff.
Yeah, well, the company that I've been with for 17 years. So you also, too, after time, get additional long service leave, which do you have that in the States? After 10 years, you get this other time?
Nope. No, sir.
Nope.
No,
okay.
sir. My husband doesn't give it to me, and I worked there for 30-some years. No, yeah. I mean, here it's every company's discretion. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I know, like my friends in Germany, you just start with a position and you start with 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is, and so that's helpful for you. You have a little bit more flexibility. A lot of designers here in the U.S., they may have that full-time corporate job and really are still only getting 2 weeks vacation.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so that's nice. So this way, you, like you said, you only need a couple of days to unwind and relax, and then you can put the other days as you get each break towards your business, which is fun. Okay, cool. All right. So now let's talk about some of the challenges that you face that are common to designers, whether they are full-time employed elsewhere or not. And one of them is scope creep. So you specifically, mentioned that to me. Talk to me about it, Adam. Tell me about the ways that it challenges you and tortures you, and tell me some of the techniques that you started to use in order to combat it.
Well, I think anyone that's done any sort of design, or I'm not sure if it. No, I'm just thinking about you and your business with Windows, if that ever happens. But it happens all the time in design, and so scope creep, we mean, you're at a job and the client will, not knowingly, but they will do this, which is also a trust thing. Is that if they're asking you to do additional work on top of what the agreed scope of work is, which if you're doing a flat fee proposal, if you're being charged, or if you're charging a flat fee, that means that you're continuing to work on other things outside of the scope of work. So I was just an interesting thing, because it's the one thing that just happens without fail every single job. And I'm on one of my leave times at the moment, LuAnn, because I'm installing a project, which is a small project. So I am project managing the project. Currently, like literally today after this interview, that's what's on the cards. So I'm going to, I've already been hit with the scope creep, and I actually jokingly talked about it with the client, and I think, I said, we're in scope creep, and she said, what's scope creep? And I said, that's when you you want other things done, and you're asking me to do these other things and organize this and that. So I'm upfront about it when it happens. What's happening now is what we call scope creep, and I have a joke about it. And I just be honest. I say, well, you've asked me now to, you've asked me to look at the cracked glass that was actually there in that door frame that you knew was there in the beginning, and now you're asking me to make calls and get people in, and I'm in the middle of an install which is going to finish next week. So it's just, that's what scope creep is, and that's what happens without fail. Can you add door stoppers here, and can you I'm thinking maybe we didn't get a piece of art, so can you just grab a piece? So it's really about being aware of that, and actually making sure that you bill for the time. On top of, if you're doing a flat fee, make sure you bill for the additional things that keep getting added to the project.
So in that scenario, I like that tactic, by the way. I like that because it's non-confrontational. It
No.
expresses to the
Yeah.
client what they've done. Because look, there's some clients that know full well what they're doing, but I agree with you. I would think most of them have no idea and don't think of it as an imposition. They don't realize it's, and that's really comes to the heart of why interior design, one of the huge challenges of being an interior designer is really always fighting with consistently conveying that what you're doing has value. It's like, lady, if you're asking me for my opinion on it, it must be valuable to you. Why do you think it's free, right?
Sure. And I think also people maybe sometimes feel that, especially if you're in a project managed situation and they've paid you a fee to manage a project, I generally think that people see you as a resource for whatever comes in their mind within that period that you're there. They'll go, well, Adam's there, he can just do that.
Right.
And you really have to be, it's all about being really clear in the beginning, literally with the contract, and saying, by the way, it's written down here, it's billable if we add on. And also too, I need to be aware of what I'm saying yes to if I do add on, because it could be something that drags me out. And we're talking about me working full time, and that I'm not going to be able to flick back and forth the week after next.
Right.
Because I've got to go back to work.
Right. Right.
So I can't take on things and put myself or the client in the position where, hang on, that glass is coming for that cracked door. Will you be there on Tuesday, the blah, blah, blah date, and deal with that? And I'll be saying no, because I've only agreed to this period of time to work on your project. It finishes next Thursday, whatever it is. Whatever next Thursday is. So that's just something I need to be hyper aware of.
Right. And so is that how you do it for I'm sure every conversation is organically different, but is that pretty much your number one go-to tactic to sort of deflect it and make it a little, hey, you just moved into scope creep, and explain what it is. And when you do that, do you find that they are then willing to say, oh, okay, I didn't know I was doing that, but I accept that? Do you get pushback at that point, Adam? How do you handle that?
Well, this happened. It was, I think, 2 days ago on this particular project, and I, like we were saying, I just made a joke about it, and we had a bit of a laugh about it. But I said it, and I meant it. I didn't say it, oh, I normally charge, but I'm not going to charge you to do that. I just held my position and said, well, with scope creep, do you want me to go ahead and do that, bearing in mind that this is additional work?
And so that was good. So that's what I'm getting at. You said, okay, would you like me to do that? But I'm going to send you an invoice for it. And then she was able to say yes or no.
She was able to say yes or no. So I think that's when you really want to get a yes or no.
Right.
And make it very clear.
Exactly.
Also, too, I've only got a period of time that I've agreed to come and do this project install. So if it's after that period of time, I'm not going to be waiting around the corner on Tuesday, November, whatever it is, for someone to come and bring a piece of glass. That's not going to happen.
Right. And so, but now I'm hearing too that the very important component of that is that you have it in your contract that this is what's included, and outside of that is billable.
Yeah. So the really important thing for me, LuAnn, was getting a contract that was very clear, and having a sign off on the contract. So I redid the contract early this year, and it was the best thing I did because there's so much detail in there. I don't think people really, even though you can go over the contract, I don't think a lot of the time they really sometimes take it in.
No, I agree.
So heads will be nodded, but they will, I've at least got that document. It's signed. At least I can say, well, on page 4 at point E, whatever, it actually talks to that, and we did cover that off, and I just have to leave it at that.
Okay. And I have to say, recently we had Design Biz Live 3, Part 3, Episode 3, Part 1 up with Judith Neary, and she described in that episode how she was working on a master bathroom for a client, and in the middle of the project, the client went on a vacation somewhere and saw this big bronze tub and thought, oh my goodness, I want want this tub in my master bathroom. And in order to accommodate this huge tub, the wall had to be moved in the bathroom, which the client was fine with. The client was like, yeah, take room away from the closet or my bedroom, whatever she took it from. But it cost Judith more time and, cost her time because she had to redo drawings and she had to, do construction had to be happening. And she didn't feel that she could charge for that extra time. And I kept pressing her. I was like, I don't understand why this client asked for this tub. It was after the design. And then we realized sometimes you're having the same conversation and you're not understanding what the two of you are each missing. And then finally she realized, she goes, oh, I didn't tell you the part that I hadn't put in my contract that anything additional, this is the hours I expect this to take. This is what I will execute on this. And something additional will be billable as additional. And so for that moment in time, she felt that it was better to err on the side of giving and retain a positive relationship and retain a positive referral. But she said, the next time I'll make sure my contract has that, anything extra. So I like that you stated that that's particularly in your contract. And so it's good advice, both, from Judith and from yourself to make sure that happens. Awesome. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah.
I love it. Okay. So let's talk about the photography a little bit. Let's get into that a little bit. So tell us, for you, are you always hiring a professional photographer, Adam? Or do you put that as when you price a project out? Are you, in your mind, you've worked with the same photographer many times and you know that this is basically a $2,000 bill, or you do it yourself? What is happening with your photography? Because I know it's a big part of your business and how you create more business.
Well, LuAnn, I don't necessarily add in the fee for the photographer, which is always professional, by the way, and I've been using the same photographer for about 5 years.
Okay.
I don't necessarily add it in as a separate line item. Well, for myself, of course, I wouldn't be adding it in to the client as a photography fee. But, I've just modified my hourly and flat fee
to accommodate it.
Rate.
That's what I meant, yes.
To accommodate
you
the cost approximately, because I pretty much know what I'm up for a day rate, for example, for this photographer. And if I want to look at using maybe another photographer, then I might need to make some calls and factor a different sort of fee in for that. But generally I don't sort of go, well, I need $2,000 for the photography, so I better bake that in somewhere here. But it's about it's about the right fee. But
in other words, even though you're not like line itemizing it in, it's in your cost of operation. In other words, you assume that every project you're going to do some professional photography, and when you've come up with your fee structures, whatever they are, it's part of it's just like no difference that you have to pay gas and electric. You don't write on the contract, well, I have gas and electric in my studio. Okay. So, but that's the point though. You knowingly do it. We're not taking this out of our personal bank account because we don't know. Okay. Nope. I love it. Okay. And so what happens? You're very artistic on top of being a designer, which all of you are artistic to begin with, but you have that extra layer of, going on. So are you stylizing your own shots? And tell us a little bit about why your photography is so effective.
Do you know, I had a conversation last night, LuAnn, thanks for that question, with another designer. I was at an event, and I was saying to this designer, and she looked at me really weirdly, but I said, you know what, I want to make sure that I get another stylist in when I do my next photo shoot to give me their version of the room. And maybe I won't style the next photo shoot. And you speak to other designers, they'll sort of say, well, doesn't that mean that it's not really your job? And I think, no, it's, I have had stylists work on my photos. I generally do my own styling. But it's not something that I would rule out. And I always like an eye that's not within my sort of, you know what it's like. If you take yourself out of the picture and get a total new perspective, they will give you ideas that you hadn't thought of. And I think I would like to next photo shoot, I would like to hire a stylist, and I'd like to say, well, show me what you're going to do. And then maybe I'll tweak that and work with you on it. I've worked with stylists on magazine shoots, so that's something that I'm not paying for. but I can see their process, and I think it's good. I do style my own, to really answer your question, I do style my own photo shoots generally, but I have had the influence of a stylist, and I like that. I don't like the idea of me being in control of every part of the job. I like the idea of spreading the experience and the talent, and I don't think it's a bad thing to do if to get other people in to maybe sweeten some areas that you kind of are not quite nailing, if that
Right.
makes sense.
I think it makes perfect sense. And I don't know if you're familiar with, I had an interview with Charlotte Savavi back in episode 138, and she is
Right.
a professional stylist for magazine shoots. And one of the things was, I want to say Liza Jones recommended me to interview Charlotte, right? And we both are friends with Liza, right? And
Yes.
yes, and I'm pretty sure it was Liza that messaged me and said, you should interview Charlotte. And when I was speaking with Charlotte off air beforehand, I literally asked her, I said, why would an interior designer need a stylist? Like, what do I know from anything? And so when she answered me, I was like, okay, I like this. Let's have this interview. And there is value in it. And it doesn't mean that you can always afford it, and it doesn't mean you always need it. But I agree with you that, number one, another artistic eye. And number two, Charlotte literally did explain how the criteria is different. When a room looks really beautiful, when you go to photograph it, a certain slice of it needs to be adjusted or moved. And if you're not trained, you don't necessarily pick that up or know that. And so I thought it was, and I've had the experience of working with a stylist on some of the window treatment shoots that we've done. And it's true. It's like I would just take the room at face value and go, this is the way the room is set up. Let's take a picture of it. There's the drape. And then when you're with the stylist, they're like, well, let's bring this chair and put it over by here. And let's put this little candle there. And let's do this. And it's like, oh, that's not how the room's set up. But it does look better like that. Because the room
Absolutely.
looks good the way it looks. But when you take the room in a whole, the chair needs to be where you put it, and the candlestick needs to be. But when you do that slice of a picture, it's different. And so that was a lesson I learned. So I think that's nice that you're open to that, and that you also helped educate your peer at the meeting last night and let them know that no, it's not taking away from your work and what you've done, right? It's just putting everything in its best light and letting every expert shine to what they do, right?
Yeah, look, I don't know whether this is considered to be an opinion that, is not, doesn't sit well, but I'm not a purist about any of the process. I like to bring in the experts in each area of the job and get the right people in. And I don't think it's a good idea to try and manage things yourself that you could be leveraging, but the benefit of somebody else coming in that probably has more experience, or just like we were talking about, a stylist. A stylist might be doing this every day for magazine shoots, and they've seen that corner of the room. They've styled that sort of situation in a certain way, and as you said, that angle might be better. A good friend of mine, Peter, styles some of my shoots with me, and he does a great job. But it's just about getting the right people in to help you with the best possible outcome, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll tweak it. I'll say, I like that, but I am going to change that, because at the end, it's my job. It's a representation of me. So, but if I've got the ability to hire that person, then I've also got the ability to say, I love this or that, but I'm going to change that, because at the end of the day, it is me.
Exactly. And then there's one last question I'd like to ask you regarding the photography. You have a philosophy of telling a story, and it's been very successful for you, telling the story through the photography, through the shoot. So the outcome. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, whenever I pitch a job to a magazine, I think it's helpful to position it as, this is the history, this is the building. I was lucky enough to get my first cover story in Australia in a magazine called Grand Designs Australia this last week, and the cover shoot
congrats.
was. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was really, really nice to get that. But the cover is the dog on the sofa. I will take photographs of, if there's a dog in the house, I'll go up and take a big photo of his face, and that'll be one image I'll present to the publication. And it's just about a livable real environment as opposed to a very highly styled and non-comfortable, for lack of a better expression, outlook. So I try and have a livable space with people and pets. And you imagine going into the room and sitting, on that couch. The dog's on the couch. It's not a pristine environment. It's near the harbour here in Sydney. I just try and pitch the lifestyle piece, which I think for a lot of publications is very an attractive proposition, because the readership is really focused on seeing themselves in that environment and enjoying looking at that as a real story.
I like that. And it's funny because Ren Miller was on the show Design New Jersey, and I'm not sure what episode. I can maybe look it up while we're talking. But the thing about it is he said that he wants to know, when you pitch him, he wants to know the behind information of the project. But when you say it, not that Ren did not express it well, but I'm just saying you know me, I always say the same thing. I have to hear something 14 different ways, and finally I'm like, that makes sense. So when
We've got something in common.
Yeah. So when I've just heard you say it's no matter how beautiful the living room or the bedroom or the kitchen is, as soon as you put some sort of humanity in it, so whether it's a dog or it's a kid,
humanity,
right? Then all of a sudden we can visualize ourselves as lay people, and that's attractive to the magazine because the magazine wants to sell magazines. So I like that. So the tip in this is that instead of relying on the editor of the magazine to fall in love with your work and then them trying to maybe coach you through making the final photo shoot have that lifestyle element, that you're taking the time you're making your own pictures and in the pitch and already crafting that story and letting the magazine feel like, okay, we get this. I like that, Adam. That's smart. And at Ren's episode was number 12, how to get your interior design projects published. And so, Amy Fleury also talks to this as well. So Amy Fleury is also somebody that we had a nice big conversation about how to get published. And so it's nice. I think you're not saying a whole lot different than what the experts, both Amy and Ren, said. But when it comes from somebody who's doing it, I think it carries a little different weight, a little different message. So, and Amy was episode 108. So these are good episodes to go back and listen to if you are looking to learn more about styling your photographs for pitching them to magazines and stuff. So, because you've had a lot of success, and that's really cool. You got that in that big magazine in Australia. It just came out last week, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I didn't expect that the image on the front cover of that magazine was going to be a cover shoot. But there's the dog, there's the client's dog. It went and sat on that couch, and I didn't try and move it. I didn't try and usher it out of the shot. And that's on the cover.
Yeah. I think did you post it in the Facebook group?
I did.
Yes, I saw it. Yep. It's really something else. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, Adam, you really shared a lot of advice with us that I think is a different twist than a lot of guests that have been on the show. And I'm really so grateful that you have been on the show and you've shared all of your information just so open and, out there about the struggles that you're going through, but also the pluses about being employed full time while doing your side hustle. And again, everybody, please go to Adam's website and look at his work. So Adam, you want to tell us the website so they can see it?
Oh, sure. Thank you, LuAnn. So it's adamscougall.com.au.
.au, right? And it's
.au.
It's SCOUGALL, right? Yes. Okay. So adamscougall.com. .au. Okay, awesome. All righty. So, well, thanks so much. And then, I'll be seeing you in the Facebook groups for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, LuAnn. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Talk about having to be organized, right? I mean, running a firm is difficult enough without having to be away from it 40 hours a week. It does put the onus on Adam to be very specific in his instructions to the trades when they do their visits without him. It also means he must set clear boundaries and expectations with and for his clients. As he described, he not only doesn't have to take clients that are not a good fit for him, he actually cannot afford to take those clients, in the sense that if he takes a client that's not a great fit, it immediately negates his opportunity to be available for the one that is the right fit. Now, we talk about this all the time, about saying no when you should, because you know that the client isn't right for you. And we say that in the big picture. Say no because you don't know who's around the corner. But it's hard, right? It's hard because you're sitting there and you're running a firm and you want to be busy all the time. But it does take a different meaning, doesn't it, when you really only have limited time for your interior design. Then he knows you would be in the same position. He knows he cannot waste it on the wrong project or the wrong client. I love it. I think that if you are struggling to turn away the people that you know are not right for you, maybe act as if you have a full-time job and you just can't afford to get involved in the project that you know in your gut is not right for you. All right? Just think about it. Picture taking the next job that you really are hearing all kinds of alarm bells, and then imagining the perfect client walking through the door afterwards. If you have room in your schedule, of course, you'll juggle them both, but that bad client situation will pull you down. Whereas if you just get used to saying no and let the good ones walk through the door, attract the ones that are good for you, then you'll be in a position where you are building and creating the type of interior design firm that you really are visualizing for yourself. Okay, so that's the lesson there. Adam has to do it. You may have to do it too if you're like Adam in a full-time job. But if you're not and you're just struggling with the no's, think about this and maybe just pretend that you have to say no so that you can leave yourself open for the great job that's coming right behind it. Okay? All right. Now, this week, I will be at the Robert Allen showroom in Long Island at the IDS meeting. So if you are in the New York, New Jersey area, it's a free lunch and learn. Come out and see us. Nancy Ganskalfer will be there. She is the principal of Your Business Partner. She is a business coach for interior designers and other entrepreneurs. She's going to be there, and she's going to be talking about your story, your business story in words, okay? And then I will be there. I'm going to be kicking some butt, just saying, talking about you have to decide to be excellent. And then Nikki Lewis of Sherwin-Williams is going to be there too, talking about trends. So if you are interested in going, you do have to RSVP. Robert Allen and IDS would like to know how many people are coming. Head over to www.windowworks-nj.com/podcasts. Look for the blog post that features the RSVP. It'll also be in our newsletter this Wednesday with a click through to the RSVP. And if you are not on our email list, then you're not going to get the newsletter. So if you want to be on our email list, all you have to do is text this number, 444-999. And when you open the field there, put in the word Design Biz, DESIGNBIZ, okay? 444-999, put in the word Design Biz, no caps, no spaces. All right, lastly, are you on Facebook? Because if you are, I hope you're following me at facebook.com/awelldesignedbusiness, because my buddies over there in the Design and Style podcast and Design and Style Facebook group have issued a 50-day Facebook Live challenge. And here I am putting it out there that I'm doing this. So it is Monday through Friday. I'm going to be doing it from the Well Designed Business Facebook. And so I'm saying it out loud. I'm going to be doing it. So come over and follow me and subscribe to it so that you get notified when I go live. And check out what I talk about every day. I'm going to be sharing tips that I learned from the show, tips that I know from my own business experience, and the news and things that are happening. All righty? Okay, that is our show for today. Lastly, I do want to thank you for the the reviews that came in for my birthday present. Thank you so much. And if you haven't reviewed the show yet, I'd be grateful if you did. And that's it. That's the housekeeping notes, folks. All righty. Have an excellent day. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.